7:45.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5. Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. Text 1. Sutta Vacha Atatam Sukhamasina Vasinam Brihatravata Devashi Prahaviprashim Vina Pani Smayaniva.
Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narad, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi amongst the brahmanas. Vedavyas.
Text 2. Narada Vacha Parasharya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kachidatmana Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Evava.
Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasara, Narad inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?
Text 3. Jignasitam susampannam apite mahat adbhutam kritavan bharatam yastvam sarvata pariprimhitam.
Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained.
Text 4. Jignasitam aditam cha brahma yatat sanatanam tatapi sochasi atmanam akritartha iva prabho.
Scroll up, please, Mataji. Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled, and there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained. You have
just done text 4 as well.
You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu?
Text 5. Vyasa vacha astyeva me sarvamitam tayuktam tatapi natma paritushyate me tanmulam avyaktam akadabotam prichamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam.
Sri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one, Brahma, who is self-born without mundane father and mother.
Text 6. Save bhavan veda samasta guhyam upasati purusha puranaha Paraviresho manaseva vishvam Shri Chatyavatyati Gunera Sangaha.
My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature.
Text 7. Tvam paryatan arkaiva trilokim antascharo vayurivatma sakshi paravare brahmani dharmato pratehi snatasya mene yunam alam vichakshva.
Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive Supersoul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows.
Text 8. Shri Narada Vacha Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yaneshvaso Natushyeta Manyeta Darshanam Kilam.
Shri Narad said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless.
Text 9. Yata dharmata yaschartha muni varyanukirtitaha natatha vasudevasya mahima yanuvarnitaha.
Although, great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudev.
Text 10. Nayat vachaschitra harer yasho jagat pavitram pakrinita karhichit tadvayasam tirtamashanti manasa nayatra hamsa diramanti sikshaya.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
Text 11. Tadva visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam apadtavatyapi namani nantasya yashon kitani yat shinvanti gayanti grinanti sattvaha.
On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest.
Text 12. Neshkam yamapya chitabhava varchitam nashopate gnanamalam niranjanam kutah punah shashvata patram ishvare narcharpitam karma yatapi yakaranam.
Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities, which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord?
Text 13. Ato mahabhagavana mokadruk shuchi shava satyarato tritavrataha urukramasya akila bandhu mudahe samadhinanushmaratat vichestitam.
O Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. And thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage.
Text 14. Tato yata kinjanayat vivakshataha pritak dishastat kritarupanamapihi nakarhi chitva pidadushtitamatir labetavataha tanorivaspatam.
Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names, and results to agitate the mind, as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place.
Text 15. Jukupsitam dharmakrite nushasataha swapavaraktasya mahan vyatikramaha yadvakyato dharmariti tarastito namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions.
Text 16. Vichakshano shyarhati veditam vipur anantaparasya nivritita sukham pravartamanasya guneranatmanas tato pavandarshaya chestitam vipuho.
The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord.
Text 17. Tyaktva svatarmam charanam bhujam hare bhajanna bhakvo tapate tato yadi yatra kvapapatramabhutamusya kim kovarta apto bhajatam satarmataha.
One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything.
Text 18. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na lapyate yat pramatam uparyataha talapyate tu kavadan anyata sukham kalena sarvatra kapira ramhasa.
Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them.
Text 19. Navai jano jatu katanchana vrajan mukunda sevyam yavadanga sashritam smaran mukundangri upaku anam punar vihatum ichan narasa graho janaha.
My dear Vyasa, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again.
Text 20. Itam hi vishvam bhagavan hivetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhavaha tatti swayam veda bhavam statapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmos manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
Hare Krishna, that's it.
That's that.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jai Shri Mataji and Prabhu. Very nicely recited there. Very nice. Thank you so much. So let's share the screen once again. So, okay, so we'll recite verse number 10, Canto 1, chapter 5, verse number 10. Nayat vachaschitrapadam harayasya jagat pavitram praganita karhichi tadvaya sante tamushanti manasa nayatra hamsa nirmante kushikshayaha nayat vachaschitrapadam harayasya jagat pavitram praganita karhichi tadvaya sante tamushanti manasa na yatra hamsa nirmante sikshaha. Word for word, synonyms. Na, not. Yat, that Vachaha vocabulary, Chitrapadam decorative, Harehe of the Lord, Yashaha glories, Jagat universe, Pavitram sanctified, Pragranita described, Karhichit hardly, Tat that, Vayasam crows, Tirtham place of pilgrimage, Ushanti think, Manasaha saintly persons, Na not, Yatra where, Hamsaha all perfect beings, Nirmanti take pleasure, Ushikshayaha those who reside in their transcendental abode. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Few paragraphs. Would anyone like to read this purport? Maybe para by para.
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Mhm. Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The furtive workers or passionate men are compared to the crows, whereas the all-perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasures in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities, mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and profile. Similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men of different mentality. Mostly the market literature which attract men of the crows categories and literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous crows topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane smiles and metaphorical arrangements. Yet, with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose and any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Spiritually advanced men who are compared to the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. These literatures in the modes of passion and ignorance and are distributed under different levels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being. And thus the swan-like spirituality advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced men are called also manasha because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids purity activities for gross bodily sense satisfaction or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. The social literally means scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Siddhara, this uh, is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literature which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramhamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for reading that. Hare Krishna. So this is like the Mangalacharan prayers and discussions. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Avadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamikam Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Vayam Rupa Kadam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can we be on mute? Sorry. Hare Krishna. Sorry, when you join, please try to join as mute so I get disturbed. Every time someone joins in, I feel like someone's speaking something. My humble request to everyone when you join, please join as mute. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so we are on this 10th verse now of the 5th chapter. The chapter entitled Sri Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So we are in the 10th verse now. So beginning, we just quickly summarize. So Sutta Goswami is addressed to Narad Muni, arrives at the time when Srila Vyasadeva was in a despondent mood. He has done everything that he could have done, but his heart is not satisfied. And Narad Muni, being the spiritual master, knows the heart of Srila Vyasadeva. and asked him some questions that, you've done everything. Now, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as the object of self-realization? So, is it at the bodily level, gross, or the subtle level? Are you satisfied with that? It's just a understanding the situation, or is it's just prompting Vyasadeva to inquire further. He says your inquiries were full, and your studies were complete, and you wrote, you prepared, no doubt you prepared a great, wonderful work, the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a great work, 100,000 verses. There are many, many stories, many, many lessons to be learned from stories like that. And he very in detail described the Purushartha, the four Purushartha beginning with the Dharma. And is also in the Vedanta Sutra, in the text number 4, fully delineated the subject for impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. So you've done that, you've done the details, you've also done the Sutra, the Vedantas Sutra, Brahma Sutras, you've done that as well. So then what could be the reason for your despondency? So then Vyasadeva in the fifth verse agrees, yes, what you understood is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I still feel dissatisfied. And then Vyasadeva glorifying the Narad Muni with various metaphors. Like you're the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in 3 worlds. Like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive super soul. So and then Narad Munis then start to address the inquiry, saying you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of this personality of God. Yes, you've done a great work of, so many scriptures have been written. You very nicely compiled the Vedas and written all the Puranas. We'll go in a little bit detail later on. Of all the Puranas, how many Puranas were created, how many verses were written. Quite a lot of work has been done. But then the defect was primarily this, that it was not sufficiently describe the glories of the Lord. When we say sufficiently, means it's not that nothing was described in the other Puranas or the Mahabharata. Vyasadeva can respond saying Mahabharata also contains Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita has the essence of all the scriptures. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shachah. So that instruction is also there. So I have done everything, but then Narad Muni can respond like that. That's how the Acharya explained that. Yes, you have done that, but it was primarily, it was not a unmotivated or unalloyed devotion. The moksha that you have described is basically the glories of the Lord you described only for the purpose of moksha and not for the purpose of prema. This is the highest. Vrindavan Prabhu explained that verse a couple of days ago. Bhagavan Rajesh Satanya. So, Prema Pumartha Mahan. So, the fifth earth, the fifth goal of life is, or the most important goal of life is the love of God. And that we've not sufficiently described and not repeatedly described. Yes, you have described a little bit, but something of so much importance must be repeatedly mentioned. So, in the other Puranas or in the Mahabharata, that glorification has been put in here and there, but not repeatedly. So when an author repeats something multiple times, I mean that the whole focus or the whole intention of that particular book or scripture is to make that point so that it goes in the heads. That's very important. So that repetition has not been sufficiently done. That's what is specified there. Then we come to the verse for the day, and we have two verses, 10, 11. 10 describes the verse for the literature which is mundane, which is considered to be like pilgrimage place for the crows, and which is called materialistic literature. And the next verse 11 will describe then the transcendental literature, the quality of the transcendental literature. And today's is about the materialistic literature. And very beautifully, Srila Prabhupada is written in so much detail. So many heavy words have been used here. It says like decoration of a dead body. Yeah, so crows and swans. The crows are, it says in the verse, crows, what type of place do the crows find? What is the place of pilgrimage for crows? It's mostly the dirt, the objects which are waste or worthy of throwing away. Yeah, and garbage. It's like take pleasure in the place where garbage is thrown out. What is the garbage? Prabhupada explained the garbage is the passionate fruity workers take pleasure in the wine and women and place for gross sense pleasure. Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam says that verse punascharvita karvananam. The one which is already chewed is being chewed again and again. But the materialistic people do not understand. They just want to do the same thing over and again. That's the garbage. That's the thrown. It's a rejected life after life. It is rejected, but we take the same thing once again. And then the crows take pleasure. They are instead seen but the swans are the opposite. The swans, the crows will go in the dirty places. The swans will always find the most calm water bodies. They will very regally, they look very royal, aristocratic. The swans, how they move around in pairs, and how they always choose the clean environment. And also, it's explained multiple times in the purpose of Srila Prabhupada. The swans have the ability to take the milk out of the mixed milk and water. It can suck the milk out, which is unique. Maybe some special swans, or I don't know the scientific evidence of those things, but surely Prabhupada mentioned that. So the swans have the ability of doing that. I mean, they just find the essence, the true essence of the scriptures, of the swan-like devotees. Prabhupada says that my devotees are like swan-like devotees, very clean, very sober, always looking for the best place, which is the temple of the Lord. And nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities. It is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. So there is this nature, is the material nature, depending on the different modes the living entities take, or the species. They get different species, different bodies. Purusha prakriti stohi punte prakriti jam guna karanam guna sangasha sad asat yoni janmashu. Sad asat yoni janmashu. Because of the association with the material nature, the living entities are getting some sat asat. This is the how do you say the sat asat is the abominable, is asat, asat, and sometimes in the animal body or the human body or in the bodies of the devatas, or Sat bodies. The higher planetary system or the lower planetary system, they take different births, but purely based on the modes of material nature. And there are different kinds of literature for different types of men of different mentality. Yeah. So different people like different things because we already know that. Some people like sports, they talk about football, some people like about something else, some car racing, so many varieties. They find people, in general, the conversation when we go out, it's very, we get bored most of the time. We just talk about the same thing. They repeat something else, and the devotees repeat the pastimes of the Lord. But this repetition of the Lord's pastimes are always nourishing, are always fulfilling, always satisfying to the heart. Like Krishna stealing the butter, it's the same story. We can hear unlimited times, and it gives us the same joy. But the other repetition is so boring. You can't even hear the first time or to speak the second time. So mostly the market literatures which attract men of crores categories are literatures containing refuse remnants of sensuous topics. That's all that is going on. It's generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They're full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yeah, so again, the dead body example. So just like the all this materialistic literature, they may be very nicely composed with lots of metaphorical examples and decorations. It's just like putting ornaments on a dead body. Well, unless there is soul, the dead body cannot move. So the ornaments or the decoration of a dead body means nothing. Similarly, any subject matter, anything that's written, it does not have the glorification of the Lord. In fact, at one time, there was I think it was Bhakti Thakur, one of the disciples came to him and said, someone has written a article which is criticism of the Vaishnavas, and they've written lots of things which is not nice. So Bhakti Siddhanta, I think it's Prabhupada, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. But they said, just see how many times the word Krishna is repeated. So that's what is useful. So that literature or that article which has Krishna, even though it's negatively mentioned there, just because it has so many times Krishna has been mentioned there, it's still good. You just see the good out of it. That's the swan-like mentality. And these literatures, but the literature which does not contain names and the pastimes of the Lord, like decoration of dead body. Literature is more of passion, ignorance, different labels, different varieties, it's the same. And the spiritually advanced men are called Manasa. Manasa, I'm just going to share this slide. I was hearing a class of devotees explaining the Manasa refers to the devotees situated in the mind of the Lord. So some of the acharyas explaining like that. Manasa refers to the devotees who are situated in the mind of the Lord, or in whose mind Lord is always situated. Sadhu hridayam mayam, sadhunam hridayam tvaham. Mad anyat te na jananti, naham tebhyo mana gati. So it says like sadhu, so in the sadhu hridayam mayam, in the hearts of the sadhu I am always there. In the sadhus of the devotees' heart I am always there, and devotees are always in my heart. They do not know anything else or anyone else but me. And similarly, Naham Tebhyo Mana Api. And similarly, within my mind, there's no one but just my devotees. These are the Manasas who always have Lord Krishna in their hearts. And it's also explained that the sons of the Lord Brahma, born from his mind, in the mind born sons of Brahma, or the four Kumaras are also Manasas. And Manasas refers to spiritually advanced men So such spiritually advanced men are called Manasa. Prabhupada explains that very beautifully. Also because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. How Prabhupada describes everything is so beautiful. Specifically uses the word voluntary service. It is not out of force, not out of peer pressure, not out of fear. It's just out of love. So nobody will perform a voluntary service unless they love to do it. So this is the important aspect of the devotion. The devotees perform the service to the Lord voluntarily. That's Prabhupada's explanation. And then the yes, and also it says that social, literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of material energy. It's again, they're just dolls. They don't know how the material nature is working, how they're being just driven from one place to the other place, one body to the other body. Yeah, so they take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. Again, the same thing. And Sridhar Swami goes further ahead to say this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glory of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramhansas who have grasped the essence of human life. Beautiful, very important verse. So what we see today, so we'll talk about what we see today in the world. There's so much. There's always a tendency to read, to publish, to write, to interact. For human, it is very, that's the difference between human and animal. Human likes to express themselves with words. Yeah, and the today's, I can call, I don't know, crows or the vultures, the social media. I just got a table. It does not describe Krishna so much, but yeah. I was curious to see where, what kind of volume of data or the, stories are shared. There you go. The Facebook has 2.91 billion active users. And every day, 1 billion stories are published. An average time spent in a day on Facebook is 33 minutes. Instagram is 2 billion, over 100 million photos are published, and 28 minutes is average user time that goes on Instagram. We've got Pinterest of 444 million, 600 million visual searches every day. Yeah, and there are more shoppers. So Pinterest excites people to buy, shop more and more. The more purchase this, purchase that. Then you got TikTok, disaster for the young children. Between most of the subscribers to TikTok are between 4 and 14 or something like that. There are 1 billion active users. And there are 3.8 million searches something else per minute. 52 minutes per day is being spent on TikTok alone. Then you go WhatsApp. 2 billion users worldwide. I don't know. I think population of the world is 6 billion. 1/3 of the population. And there are 4.2 billion messages being sent per hour. And people spend up to 38 minutes per day of their time just reading the WhatsApp messages. Sure, it will be a lot more, but this is just average. Then you got the Twitter, you got the LinkedIn, and I don't know how many other things. And Google has 3.8 million searches per minute. We can see that how much people are, trying to throw in this rejected, the materialistic literature, which has no benefit to the human. It's just a waste of time. But there's implicit, there's this inquisitiveness in people's mind, and they're always looking for Krishna, as George Harrison explained. All that, everyone's looking for Krishna, but they don't know. Everyone's looking for Krishna. And look at this amount of work that goes on. Just imagine how much junk is there everywhere, how much is published, how much The minds are bombarded all the time with all this sensual and garbage like material. How much time is being spent by people? There are most of the people may always be probably on all of the social media. They can easily jam 16 rounds, it seems, if you add all together times, more than that. It's very unfortunate. Now some more. Then after that, this is just the thing. This is just the social media. All these important ones. Then you got the children playing on games. Then people watch movies, Netflix, Disney, YouTube, Amazon Prime, TV shows, news channels. There's phone calls all the time, talking. There's sports channels. This game, that game. Who's winning here? Who's winning there? So much time is being wasted. It's unbelievable. So much time of human life, rare human life is wasted. And this is another graph. It says about how much leisure time on an average people do. This is, I think it was done in 2020 by some agency. Yeah, so UK spend about people on an average spend 305 minutes, which is roughly 5 hours. 5 hours a day on the leisure, total leisure time. Isn't that shocking? Seems like just shopping or TV, radio, this thing, that thing, going here, there, everything, social media. How much time is being wasted? This is the situation of the world. And as this is because this is the time of the Kali Yuga. And if I come up with how much, so when we say about Srila Vyasadeva, what is his contribution? If you take the Mahabharata, so Ramayana out of 24,000 verses, there's all these different Puranas he's compiled. He's compiled the Vedas, compiled the Mahabharata of 100,000 verses, Bhagavat Puran 18,000 verses, Brahma Puran 10,000 verses, Padma Puran 55,000 verses, Vishnu Puran 23,000 verses, Shiva Puran 24,000 verses, Narada Puran 25,000 verses, Markandeya Puran, Agni Puran, Bhishya Puran, 18 Puranas. And it is said that Jiva Goswami explained that there are 6 Puranas in each of the modes: the mode of goodness, and the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So what I've highlighted in green are all the Puranas in mode of goodness. So Bhagavad Purana obviously stands at the top, beyond the mode of goodness. By in sense, it's categorized like that. And you got Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, Narada Purana, Varaha, and Garuda Purana. This is how much work has been done by just one Srila Vyasadeva. And it is said that everything that is out there in the scriptures, everything that's been written, has something or the other taken from the work of Srila Vyasadeva. So is the non-ordinary, is the incarnation of the Lord. So how much work he has done. So this is the constant battle between the devotees and the materialistic, the crows and the swans. The swans are just, they continue to write the scriptures and the glorification of the Lord in one way or the other. So all these Puranas, it's not that they don't have any mention of the glories of the Lord, but it is said that Srimad Bhagavatam is exclusively written for the ultimate perfection of life, which to develop the love of Godhead. That's Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavad Puran. Okay? And then after that, we also have, just imagine how much work we have for the Vedas, we have 108 Upanishads, Samhitas, Aranyakas, Brahmanas, Vedangas, Upavedas. So this Bhagavad Puran is the Nigamakalpatro Galitam. Nigamakalpatro Galitam Phalam is the matured, ripened fruit of all the nigamas, all the the Vedic tree. The Vedic tree is like Upanishads. Before the Bhagavad Puran, Srila Vyasadeva had compiled the Vedanta Sutras, which are like in sutra form, very short, Yathada Brahma Jigyasa, like that, the first one. And then 3 or 4 words, he summarized the essence of the spiritual teachings. But then, even then, that's what I say, that gives the knowledge of the Brahman knowledge. But his heart was not satisfied. So this Bhagavad Puran is Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Phalam. So this is like matured fruit or fully ripened fruit. Before the fruit, the Vedanta Sutra is explained to be like not ripened. It's like half ripened or 30, 40%, 50% ripened, like that. And before the Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, which are like, considered as the flowers, which I explained in Bhagavad Gita as well, the the flowery words of the Vedas, that's the Upanishads, like that. So the Vedic tree, which contains all these Aranyakas, Brahmanas, Samhitas, Upanishads, but ultimately the ripened fruit is the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. But I was just comparing how much work has also been put. It's not that the devotees have not put effort. So this was before or maybe at just the start of the Kali Yuga, when Vyasadeva decided to put everything in writing. And all these scriptures were compiled at the time. Just in that understanding that the nature of people of Kali Yuga will be so dull-minded. So this all work was done by Vyasadeva. And Srila Prabhupada is again, done so much work. He had from his own spiritual master, the only instruction was to, whenever he gets any money, he should publish books. Srila Prabhupada took that to the heart. And just like we have distributed more than 500,000 books, literature worldwide since 1965 until March 2022. The devotees are relentlessly also publishing the transcendental literature constantly. And before Srila Prabhupada also, like this is the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's library. He created his own library, which has got 100-year plus old collection. There are 2,380 different books. There are 70,000 plus pages of journals and newspapers. It is said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also started a daily newspaper, because when the materialistic newspaper were coming out every day, just printing all the rubbish, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur decided to then come up with the daily newspaper for the spiritual. It's a daily spiritual newspaper, imagine. And someone asked him, like, well, what can you write every day? He says, this material world, which is only the 1/4 of the total creation, just imagine how much we can actually write about the 3/4. If people can write so much, we have at least 4 times that we can write. They actually published every single day a newspaper and the different articles. So there is a branch of ISKCON, which is Bhaktivedanta Research Center, which is doing a massive work. It is digitizing all the Vaishnava Acharya's books and the manuscripts. It is preserving the manuscripts. So they got 40,000 plus pages, 8 pages per issue. And there are 5,000 issues of the Nadia Prakash, the daily Nadia Prakash, was published from 1927 to 1947. So much work our Acharyas have been doing. And this is again the same, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center is doing this great work of, of digitizing the endangered manuscripts, because they're all very old and very old, they're wearing out. They don't have a lot of life, so they're saving all that. But it said that there are estimated to be 1 crore manuscript. Yeah, and only 3.3% have been so far digitized by the National Manuscript Mission of the country. There's so much to do. So that means this nature of publishing reading material has been going on ever since. Ever since this has been going on. And it's just how the onslaught of Kali Yuga, we can see the nature of the scripture, nature of the publishing material has changed so much. What it used to be before, people would just discuss the Mahabharata, Ramayana. Every house will discuss that. Children will just discuss those stories of Krishna. And now all they're discussing is just the, this Snapchat or TikTok and this and that. But thanks to Srila Prabhupada, movement is on, and we are constantly distributing Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, ever since the pandemic, there is so much demand. Everyone's looking for something better. They're reading all their junk, but their heart is never satisfied because the soul as such is pure, and everyone has just lost that connection with Krishna. So the heart is not satisfied. They're just constantly looking for the true relationship with the Lord Himself. Yeah, and all these other scriptures are also very important. Srila Prabhupada has said in multiple letters that if he had the sufficient assistance, he would like to flood the world with all the beautiful stories and lessons that can be learned taking from the different Puranas. He wanted to translate all the Puranas in English. He wanted to translate Mahabharata in English because it's not that they are completely useless. They have a lot of strength, a lot of power. Vyasadeva is not ordinary personality. The criticism is when the criticism is made by Narad Muni, so we should be careful about that. When he says, it is a place of pilgrimage for the crows, we should not take it in that sense because we have to understand from our point of view and from Narad Muni's point of view. Narad Muni is looking at a very high level, perspective. Just like, it is said that Prabhupada gives an example. If you say tall buildings, when we are here on the Earth sphere, we can see the building is very tall. But as someone goes in a plane, goes up and up in the sky, they can, that when they see the same building, which is like a 200-story or skyscraper, and it's seen from a height of a plane flying in the sky, it's feel like a dot. Narad Muni is seeing from that perspective. From our perspective, all this is still great piece of work, and there is so much to be learned from there. And Vyasadeva has done fantastic work, which is incomparable. Nobody can ever compare what work is gone in. Yeah, but our tendency should be not to criticize like that. It's just like because we may not understand fully the importance of the other scriptures. Yoga Swami says that we should not undermine the work of the Vyasadeva and the other acharyas because the Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest. Everything is glorious, all the scriptures are glorious as compared to what's out today in the world. It's just complete rubbish, garbage. Yeah. So this criticism that is been made by Narad Muni should not be taken from our perspective. We should see from our level, from where we are, which is fantastic. But we can also then appreciate the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. What has come up as Srimad Bhagavatam, how powerful is that? That in spite of all this massive work that was done by Vyasadeva, which is great, it's fantastic, it's fully complete. But then even more complete is Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the lesson for us. It's just that sometimes the spiritual master is, this example is also given like for a brahmachari thinking of going to the Grihastha from spiritual master may say that, oh no, it is not a good place to be. It does not necessarily mean the Grihastha is not good. That is for a particular reference that is being spoken. this ashram is just the foundation of all the other ashrams. Similarly, all the other work is also brilliant work, and there's so much to learn. But there's very little time for us, so we just even if we complete Bhagavatam, fully understanding it is very good. But like we're going to read one verse a day, 18,000 verses, 18,000 days, and how many years have we known? 60 years? Yeah, 60 years. Probably do that. It's fantastic. Yeah, so I think that's the essence of, we just discussed how.
Sorry, Prabhuji, can I just interrupt you? Your audio is becoming worse and worse. Actually, we can just barely hear you.
Wow. Okay, it's already quarter to, so sorry about that, Shailesh Prabhu. I didn't realize. What happens sometimes it goes bad and the same laptop sometimes. So. Is it any better now or just the same?
It's a little better. There seems to be a little bit of interference going on as well, but it's kind of steadily deteriorating. Last 10 minutes has been quite bad. It's not been so bad throughout the class, but last 10 minutes it's kind of degrading quite a bit. So
sorry about that.
And it's such an interesting class, bro. Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry, but I thought before it gets worse or we can't hear you at all.
Yeah, but the essence, yeah, I will just summarize once again. So the essence was purely this, that Narad Muni is now two verses, number 10 and 11, where verse 10 describes the quality or the attribute of the materialistic literature. Verse 11 that we will study tomorrow describes the beauty of the continental literature. This literature which Narad Muni is comparing to the pilgrimage for the crows, is actually is from his view that I was explaining before, because he's a very high level is viewing it for us. And here Srila Prabhupada has mentioned many times that if we had a chance, if we had the right time and the assistance, we would like to, we would have loved to translate all the Puranas, at least the 6 main Puranas for the Vaishnavas in the mode of goodness, and definitely wanted to translate Mahabharata as well. So it's all great piece of work, and it's just the way the spiritual master admonishes his disciple. That's how Narad Muni is. He's criticizing the work, but in today's time, the mode of ignorance is taking the precedence. So we see that what is published today is pure garbage. It's pure garbage. And how much time we went through the list of social media, how much users, how many, so billions and billions of stories published every day in different social medias. There is so much, that means hearts are never satisfied. People can be, engrossed in all these different types of stories of the social media. And that relates to mostly, sensual literature, maybe because it never satisfies the heart. People are looking for more and more and more and more, and the heart is not satisfied. But the work that has been done by the there's also quite a lot of work has gone in. I mean, more than 500,000 verses have been written just by Vyasadeva himself, which is a massive. And then if you just consider all the commentaries on those different verses, just the Purana, just the verses they explain. Then there is the purport of the acharyas and all of these, and if you expand on all that, there is also equally billions and billions of pages that's available for the spiritual enthusiastic people as well. So there is so much. So it's just a matter of we choosing, staying away from the garbage and choosing the swan-like. So we have to adopt the swan-like personality of just staying in the nice clean environment and in the beautiful lake of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That was the summary. So I think 10:2. The question, is there a paper copy of paper of viewing? Sorry, what's the question? I just jotted down some notes, and I had this slide which I just created. Not a lot in there, but I will share that later. Any other comments or thoughts or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry for interfering earlier. I felt very guilty, but I thought I'd just let you know that the audio is kind of deteriorated. It became a little better, but it was a really interesting class. So much facts. So thank you. I absolutely agree with the amount of volume of rubbish that's there with respect to the social media and the volume of time people spend wasting their time and lives. The amount of time of the day and the rubbish that's on there, it's incredible. But conversely, for those devotees that are following Srila Prabhupada's instructions vigorously, are also using the same platforms for distribution of bhakti. And for us fallen souls, actually this same technology that is so criminal is also a lifesaver, because it allows us access, like these classes, for instance, like, through the whole of the pandemic. It's been a real godsend for a lot of devotees.
For us,
being able to access bhakti lectures, and probably many people have increased their amount of listening. Those are committed, of course. I'm not saying everyone, but so it's a question of consciousness, isn't it? You can use the same material instruments and turn them pure for bhakti, whilst they're being degraded or used for degraded purposes by the masses. The staunch devotee will somehow use anything material for devotional practice as well. So yeah, it was mind-blowing statistics you gave today. So it was really good. I was
shocked. Actually, I took at least it took me an hour. I was curious about how much time actually people spend on it. I was shocked. I must say, I never knew this is how much time people actually, this is how much is being published. It was shocking to me, really. As you said, devotees are like, Prabhupada gives the example of knife in the hand of a surgeon, or knife in the hand of a murderer. The same knife can be used to save a life, and the same knife is used to take a life.
Yeah, absolutely. He uses very famously the microphone example as well. One other quick observation, Prabhuji, in your slide, you mentioned all the literatures that Vyasadeva has written, but one of the items on there was the Ramayana. That is, of course, not Vyasadeva.
No. Total, that what I said, that's not Vyasadeva, yes. So he wrote a small commentary on Ramayana, but not. So just the mention of how much literature is available if someone wants to read it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one last point from me, again, a very important point you made about repetition throughout, throughout the Shastra. Even Krishna in the Gita has to repeat several times the same message, because it's, where we've got mundane understanding and knowledge, and such important points are repeated. And to my mind, this verse always sticks out, because we need to understand and learn. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Gatinita. Just to drive home and penetrate the importance of these things. It's not a scriptural defect, it's a defect of our understanding and the emphasis on point for why it's being repeated. So, repetition, when we are not so advanced, we've heard that story from the Bhagavatam. Can we listen? Yeah, actually, there is a new and more deeper us that can be extracted every time you listen to the same story. It's just incredible how many times you can listen to the same thing on Bhagavatam. But one day you will never want to listen to the same news story twice. Yeah, it's just. No, thank you for a very, very nectarian class, Prabhuji. Really appreciated the amount of work you put in today's class.
I was not satisfied, but thank you so much for it.
It's because you didn't repeat Krishna's name. You repeated too much of the Google statistics.
That's what I'm thinking. That's not satisfying.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Dandava pranams.
Hare Krishna. Okay, devotees, thank you so much for being here. Grantha Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu
Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.